Hello, I am recording the video and today's topic is postback. Introduction. In the old HTML, the only way to make some things updated on the web page is to resend a new web page to the client browser. That's what ASP used to do. You have to do this thing called a postback to send a updated page to the client. In ASP.NET, you don't have to resend the entire web page. You can now use Ajax or other ASP.NET controls such that you don't have to resend the entire web page. If you visit some old website, you would notice that once you click something, the entire page has to be refreshed. This is the old ASP. In most of the modern website, you will notice your browser doesn't have to refresh the entire page. It only updates the part of the content that need to be updated. For example, in Stack Overflow, you see the page update only the content, not the entire web page. Programming model in old ASP for using post method in form is to post the values of a form to a second page. The second ASP page will receive the data and process it for doing any validation or processing on the server side. With ASP.NET, the whole model has changed. Each of the ASP.NET pages will be separate entity with the ability to process its own posted data. That is, the values of the form are posted to the same page and the very same page can process the data. This model is called postback. Each ASP.NET page when loaded goes through a regular creation and destruction cycle like initialization, page load, etc. in the beginning and unload while closing it. This postback is a read-only property with each ASP.NET page system.web.ui.page. This is false when the first time the page is loaded and is true when the page is submitted and processed. This enables users to write the code depending on if the postback is true or false. If the use of the function page dot with the use of the function page dot is postback. Understanding the postback. Postback is the name given to the process submitting an ASP.NET page to the server for processing. Postback is done if certain credentials of page are to be checked against some source, such as verification of username and password using database. This is something that a client machine is not able to accomplish, and thus these details have to be posted back to the server. A postback is a round trip from the client to the server and then back to the client. This enables you page to go through the ASP engine on the server and any dynamic content of the to be updated. Postback is implemented with the use JavaScript in the client side. The HTML page generated for each .aspx page will have the action property of the form tag set to the same page. This makes the page to be posted on to itself. Also, all validation code that is written, required field validation, regular expression validation, etc. will all be processed at the client side using the .js JavaScript file present in the web server _ww root /ASP.NET _client folder. Understanding the auto postback. Auto postback is a property which you assign to a web control if you want to postback the page when any event occurs at them. Default value on control is false. ASP.NET also add two additional hidden input fields that are used to pass information back to the server. This information consists of ID of the control that raised the event and any additional information if needed. These fields will empty initially as understanding the page.isPostback gets a value that indicates whether the page is being rendered for the first time or is being loaded in the response to a postback. The isPostback property can be used to determine if the page is submitted to itself. When a form is submitted back to the same page that contains it, it's called a postback. ASP.NET provide a property called isPostback that is true when the page is being loaded as a result of a postback and is false otherwise. All the web applications are running on web server. Whenever a user made a request to the web server has to return the response to the user. Postback is the name given to the process of submitting all the information that the user is currently working on and send it all back to the server. Postback is actually sending all the information from client to web server. Then web server process all those contents and return back to the client. A postback originates from the client side browser when the web page and its content are sent to the web server for processing some information, and then the web server posts the same page back to the client browser. Normally one of the control on the page will be manipulated by the user, for example button click, and this control will initiate a postback. Then the state of the control and all other controls on the page is postback to the web server. ASP.NET also added two additional hidden input fields that are used to exchange information back to the server. The doPostback function has the responsibility for setting these values with the appropriate information about the event and the submitting the form. ASP.NET generates the doPostback function automatically provided at least one control on the page uses automatic postback. Postback is actually sending all the information from client to the web server. Then web server process all those contents and return back to the client. Most of the time ASP control will cause a postback, but some don't unless you tell them to do in certain events in an ASP.NET page upon which a postback might be needed. IsPostback is a property of the ASP.NET page that tells whether or not the page is on its initial load or if a user has performed a button on your web page that has caused the page to postback to itself. The value of the page.isPostback property will be set to true when the page is executing after a postback and false otherwise. We can check the value of this property based on the value, and we can populate the control on the page. Thank you.